Good evening and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bluddworth, and as you can see by the graphics, today's video is an announcement video as much as talking about some new items I got in the mail, and it is a second run of this video because the first time that I put it up, I inadvertently allowed some music to come through near the tail end when I was going through Troll Lord Games' Indiegogo campaign, and that music led to a copyright strike. So I took down that original video, putting this one up in its place. So it is still very much unscripted, and it's just that I have a second go at it. So that being said, let's get to my decision to declare that Castles and Crusades will be in the future my go-to fantasy tabletop RPG. So if you've been following along with my channel over the last couple of videos, I have been going through the Player's Handbook of Castles and Crusades. The earliest printing of the game I have is the second printing. So this is printed in 2006 and 2007. Just the Player's Handbook and the Monsters and Treasures come in this gold bond, like a collector's edition or special edition of it. The Castle Keeper's Guide is a 2007 printing that I picked up. It goes along with this. So as I'm going through and talking about the various printings that I have here, I may slip and call it edition. Castles and Crusades uses the terminology of printing because the game mechanics generally don't change very much going from one printing to the next, with one exception. I believe around the third printing into the fourth printing, there was a change in some mechanics and such, streamlining and changing. I noticed with encumbrance, there was definitely a change made. And when I go through those later printings, I will focus on those changes between the 2006 and those going. The fourth printing was in 2010, I'm fairly certain. And all of my other printings go beyond 2010 anyway. So I have second, I believe I have fifth, and I just picked up eighth printing, which was printed out in 2021, and the Player's Handbook just came out, so the future ones will be printed out in 2022, I'm assuming. Without further ado, why have I decided that Castles and Crusades will be my go-to fantasy RPG? I am a very devoted OSR, TSR, Dungeons and Dragons, Dungeon Master, and player. I spent the first 12 or 13 years in the hobby, starting in 1977 through about 1989-ish or so, playing, as far as fantasy role-playing games, playing exclusively Dungeons & Dragons and Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition. When I returned to the hobby in 2015, I went right back to running and playing Dungeons & Dragons BECME, which was the 1983 box sets. I have run some Holmes edition. I've run some Moldvay edition. I've run, and now I'm currently in an Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition campaign that has been going now strongly into 51 weeks. We will begin session 52. So our 52nd week, our 1 year week of running this campaign beginning on Tuesday. And so campaign's been going exceptionally well. Really love the system, but I have been looking for a more modern mechanics system that does streamline it a little bit from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition, but it still holds that essence of what old school gaming was. And so when I first started digging into Castles and Crusades second printing 2006, just a couple of weeks ago, and when I say a couple, like 2 weeks ago, I started really digging into it. I started to realize that, wow, this is really an excellent system, and I can definitely see why Gary Gygax actually, put out the declaration that Castles and Crusades is the natural successor to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition. And looking through this game system, as I've been tearing through the player's handbook and looking to see, what streamlining of the overall Advanced Dungeons and Dragons system, was put into here, and just the way that the authors of this, in cooperation or possibly even with contributions of Gary Gygax to it, it's just an incredible system. Super fast, very simple to understand. It's not bogged down with a lot of rules, and it utilizes a system that is built around the attribute scores of a character rather than levels and percentiles attached to the skills at those levels and such. So it's a much simpler system to understand. Its armor class system, makes a lot of sense. So it is using an ascending armor class system, which I typically don't like, but the way that it's used here, it's just so much easier for me to wrap my head around it, and it certainly broke me out of my hang up with descending armor class and wanting to always utilize that when given the option. Now I can see with this system how it really does make a lot of sense, and I just like the way it works in this system much better than the way it functioned in AD&D second edition as an optional rule, and in later editions of Dungeons and Dragons. I just like it better here. There are other things in here that I really do like in comparison to some others, but as I go through those videos, that is what I'm going to do, is I'm going to point out when I get into the actual systems of the game, which will be the next video after this. Once I get into those, I will point out, this is what the system is, this is why I like it, this is where I think it improves upon AD&D First Edition, and why ultimately it is my favorite system of the more modern game mechanics that you can find out there. Now I've seen comments around, and I haven't been able to verify them, but what I have seen is some people have said that this Castles and Crusades, especially once they got around the 2010, I believe, iteration of it, printing of it, did have a great deal of influence on Wizards of the Coast's 5th edition. And so some of what Wizards of the Coast 5th edition claim to be the strengths of their system actually came out of this. I haven't verified that, but that's just something that's been put out there. So, and I will, once I get to the more up to date or modern printings of Castles and Crusades, I will be able to do that that comparison. Maybe it'll jump out to me and it'll tell me, oh yes, this was here before it was there. But anyway, let me go to a different screen here. And so as I mentioned, I have the Player's Handbook and the Monsters and Treasures, or Treasures, no, it's Monsters and Treasures. And once I'm done doing, I probably have about 2 or 3 more videos on the Player's Handbook to go. And then I'll move into Monsters and Treasures, just do like a once through on this here. And by then I should have the Castle Keeper's Guide for that one's dated 2007. That will go along with this set. After that, I will then start taking a look at the Player's Handbook of Castles and Crusades. Now, this, I believe, is the 5th printing. No, I'm sorry, 6th printing. It says it right there. So this is the 6th printing, 2014. So I will start tearing into the 6th printing. Let's make sure this one is also 6th printing. I believe it is, because these kind of go in sequence. And this one here, of course, doesn't state. Oh, so this is the 4th printing. So this is 4th printing, Monsters and Treasures. And this one here, now that I know, see, this doesn't make much sense, because this calls it the 2nd printing of, and this is 2015. So I'm a little bit confused with what they call printing at one time or another. So I'm just going by the dates and kind of putting them together. So, you know, the 2015s and 16s go together, 2006s and 7s go together, and so on. But I know the newest one's coming out. So I have the Player's Handbook, which I just picked up. This is the 8th printing, dated 2001. This is the Keeper's Screen, and this is dated 2021. So I know that these are going to go together, and I will be able to keep up to date when I do shift to running this system as my go-to fantasy RPG. I am going to be using the most up-to-date printings. Now, you can certainly go from one printing to another and, you know, pull from, you know, I'm sure that the Monsters and Treasures don't significantly change from this printing to the more modern printing until I can get the Monsters and Treasures for this set as well. As you can see, I don't mind getting a copy of a number of the series, just like I have Dungeons and Dragons, the core 3, in the 1st through 5th editions. And so I don't mind filling in some of the gaps and at least having the core 3 for as many of the printings as I feel that I need in order to, you know, have a pretty solid collection of Castles and Crusades. So another reason why I have, I have chosen to select Castles and Crusades as my go-to fantasy RPG for my future gameplay is that it is something that Troll Lord Games is still producing new content. They are looking to go into different media with their product. All right, and that's the last part that I'm going to show you. It's the one that got the copyright strike for the music, so I've made sure that I turned off the music, and so I will be able to show that to you and talk a little bit about it as they're going through it this time. That way, hopefully, it doesn't create the same issue. But they are going digital with at least some aspects of this game, and they're starting off very slow with a character generation app, and you can then follow your character your character's progression and update that character progression on several different platforms that you have, obviously in digital form. So let's take a look at that. And like I said, I had to turn off the sound. That way we don't run into an issue, but you will see it very briefly. And here we go. So this is Castles and Crusades Character Manager. It's an app for mobile and desktop that allows you to generate and advance characters in C++. So I don't know what their future plans for this is. It's just nice to be able to have that on your character sheet. A character sheet available to you, and you can mess around with it. While you're at work in between times, or or you just have it on your phone if you happen to be traveling someplace and you want character builds. That's where the app stands for now. I call this a stepping stone because this is an entry level into the digital realm. Now they already have PDFs and everything that you have, and they also have some support on some of the virtual tabletops that are out there. There's a little bit on Roll20, but not very much. There's more on Fantasy Grounds, and hopefully, I know that they're in talks with Foundry. My hopes is that they put a lot more into Foundry, and because I am looking for a new virtual tabletop. So let's see what they actually have here. And I have the volume off this time, so unfortunately the music you won't hear. So character generation allows you to create a character of any level. All right, so you have to unlock it, then you can make changes. You start entering in the various things. You can put in the attributes. The attributes will generate the modifiers for it automatically. You can choose the races. The class. Hit points per level is 4. For Barbarian, it's kind of weird. So once they put in the experience points, it automatically allows you to roll for the second level because the character just hit second level. And as you're inputting, you can see it automatically updates above. And you could delete things. You can put in, obviously very quickly. You can do the dice rolls, and it will come up and show you what the, what the results are, both whether or not it hit and the damage as well. And that is pretty much it. You can see a list. You can have quite a number of characters, and there you pretty much have it. So the app itself was $13, so very, very economical. All right, to have the app, $13. You could do some bundles where for $50, which really brings the price of the book down to $37. So you can get the app and the book for $50. And you can go for the AP and the game. So basically, that's the player's handbook and the treasury and treasures and monsters for $99. And you can go for the complete game, which will have everything for $140. All right. So let me come back out of this. So as you can see, I mean, they're taking steps to bring Castles and Crusades into the digital future. They already have things out there, but this is their first app, I believe, that is going to be accessible separately from character generators on the virtual tabletops that they already have a presence with, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to eventually running Castles and Crusades. We'll start off with one shots, but some of the players in my AD&D First Edition group are already asking. They were like, "Hey, if you're going to run a parallel campaign with Castles and Crusades, I'm definitely in on that. I want to play a knight." One of my players already said, "I want to play a knight," and so I'm really looking forward to making that gradual shift over from AD&D First Edition. Certainly after my campaign is over, I'm kind of expecting that most of my players, if not all of my players, will translate over to Castles and Crusades from where we're at. There are many supplements to this game system as well. So there are, and I'll get into that later on as I go through the series and just deal with the core books. But once I get to the most recent edition or printing, I should say, the 2021, I'll talk about some of the. They have setting books that are out there. They have various cultural supplemental books that are out there as well. So I've seen things, books on basically the Nordic realms and I believe there's a Roman expansion. So there are other ancient civilization cultural influences that you can bring in here. I even recall seeing someplace where there's a Bronze Age version of Castles and Crusades that you can also implement as well. That would be something that would be really cool to take a look at as well. So yeah, once again, it's been a while. I've been looking for a modern system with some of the modern mechanics that that a lot of players are really into. That still has that legacy of Gygaxian heroic fantasy tied to it, and some of the feel of old school role playing games, especially fantasy role playing games. And Castles and Crusades is, the one that I think comes closest to that. Just to finish off, Gary Gygax actually stated that Castles and Crusades is the natural successor to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition. So if you're a big fan of the legacy of Dave Arneson and Gary Gygax, and you're looking for a modern game that captures that old school Dungeons and Dragons feel, then Castles and Crusades is the one to go to. So I highly recommend it. And as I go through those videos and start showing you the system that the game system uses, I think that you'll see this really is an easy to pick up, streamlined, and well formatted game system. So without further ado, and great art and everything else combined with it as well, and pretty sturdy hardcovers and such, and fairly reasonably priced, believe it or not. All of these things I picked up on eBay, with the exception of the 8th printing, Player's Handbook, and on eBay I don't believe I spent more than $30 on any one of these books that I have here. Have been most have been around the 20 to $25 range that I've gotten them, and again, they're all hardcovers, so I've gotten really good buys on these things. And even the Castle Keepers screen, I got this for $12 on eBay, brand spanking new, $12 on eBay, and I picked up the eighth printing of the Player's Handbook on Amazon. I think it was cheaper on Amazon than I found elsewhere. Plus, I get free shipping with Amazon anyway. Maybe I paid in the mid-30s, maybe 40 at the most for this on Amazon. I'd have to go back and double check, but really a great bargain for a game system that's really pretty solid. So once again, thanks for joining. I hope you liked this video. I apologize to some of you that might have already commented on the previous one that I just took down. Please feel free to pop back in again and comment again. Like I said, copyright infringements are something that I frequently don't run into because I usually don't run sound on it, and for some reason I just wasn't thinking about putting up their advertisement and getting a copyright strike. So it is what it is. Anyway, thanks for joining. I hope you liked this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you hadn't subscribed, please consider subscribing. The channel has been doing well. The more and more that you come here, the more comments that you leave, the greater reach the channel will have. I'll get more comments in there, especially like requests. I know one commenter has been asking for me to do a walkthrough of Beckme's Masters box set, and I already have a video where I do that. So just take a look out for that. It's on the channel. You just have to go a little bit further back, or just do a search, and that will come up. But yeah, I already did a walkthrough for the Masters. I haven't done one for the Immortal set. And the reason why I hadn't done that is because that is even Frank Metzner said that's not really Dungeons and Dragons, but I will still do an Immortal Sets flip through just to talk a little bit about it and include it in that. What I need to do is I need to take the D&D Beckme and put them into a playlist, which I haven't done already, so that way it'll be a little bit easier for you to access. So that's something I will do tonight, is to create a playlist with just those so that you can go through those. It'll be a little bit easier for you to access. But again, thanks for making a request. I always try to get to requests within a week or so. I have quite a few videos coming up that I've been sitting on and just waiting to get out there. I have a number of PDFs that my friends over at the Red Room have been sending me, and I haven't gotten around to reviewing them. Those are the next series of videos that I will be doing over this weekend, is to take a look at some of their PDFs, and I absolutely have to get Wretched Bastards in soft cover. So that's a purchase I need to make by this weekend, so that I have at least the core of that system, and then I'll just run adventures or get bits and pieces of adventures from the PDFs and go forward with that. So those are some upcoming things for this weekend. So once again, thanks for joining. Have a great upcoming weekend, and stay safe out there. And I look forward to seeing you on a gaming screen sometime soon. You'll have a great evening.